Well, most people are curious about when they should actually start claiming Social Security. Well, today's situation is a little bit unique. What if you aren't sure whether or not you're going to live a long time? Maybe your parents didn't live a long time and you think that longevity will apply to you as well. We got a listener question we're going to dive into today and talk about whether or not it is actually smarter to claim early if you don't feel like you're going to live a long retirement. That's coming up. Welcome into Perfect Game Retirement. I am Ben George with Ryan Ledden at Black Oak Asset Management. Thanks for joining us today. We're going to dive into this mailbag question about Social Security. I know timing is a big issue, and I know this is something that you work through quite a bit with people, Ryan, and this is something you want to get right.
Yeah, it is. Especially like you said, you want to get it right. If you don't get it right, you have like a 1-year window to kind of change that. If you want to pause it and extend it further out, you have to pay back that money. But you do have a 1-year kind of window, if you will, if you feel like you did not get it right. But as an individual, if it's just you, little less to think about when it comes to when you claim it. But if it's a married couple, yeah, there's a lot of nuances you want to think about. So it's a big deal because it can make tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars of difference depending on when you claim and how long you do live.
All right. So here's the question. We'll break it down after I read it here, Ryan. So my father died in his late 60s and my mother died in her 70s, early 70s. So I'm not planning to have much longevity myself. Does that mean I should start Social Security as early as I can? So the question is pretty simple. Let's kind of break this down a little bit. So first off, just relying on family history in order to try to project your own retirement and your own lifespan, how reliable do you think that is?
I don't think it's enough to make a decision on. Obviously, there's a lot of other variables, and I get, yes, genetics, they're a real thing, and if you have a generation over generation history of not having longevity in your family, okay, that could be a factor, but this shouldn't be the determining factor because your lifestyle could have been completely different than your parents. And who knows, maybe your parents' lifestyle was completely fine, but over time that can evolve. And if your lifestyle is very healthy, you take care of yourself, you exercise, then you can kind of break through that barrier, if you will, from a family history standpoint. So it can be a factor, but it's certainly not a determining factor. You gotta put all those factors into a pot and then kind of see what comes out. But solely basing on that, because I've had clients that they're like, "Oh, I'm not living past this." I'm like, "Well, how do you know?" None of us know. So we need to have a plan that can still go further and further out. If we want to factor in a plan that is kind of shorter lived, that's fine. But just doing it based off family history alone is not good enough for me to give advice and on when to claim it.
Okay. So let's get into the claiming part of this then. So for those who don't know, how does this early filing affect your lifetime benefits? And, I guess kind of alongside of that is, what are the trade-offs for claiming at 62 versus waiting?
Yeah, it could be a great deal. So I've had plenty of clients that claim it at 62 and they regret it. And I've had people claim it at 62 and they're fine with it. So just know the math of it, which again, we can log into ssa.gov and see what our benefit is at 62. Again, if it's just you and that's when you want to claim it, okay, little easier formula to factor in there. But just remember, when the Social Security Administration announces each year what the cost of living raise is going to be, and again, it could be zero. There's no guarantee there is going to be a cost of living raise for your Social Security benefit. Just know that percentage number that they announce is going to be on a smaller amount. So that kind of compounding interest of your benefit is going to be less and less and less. Just know, and usually the math on this, and I've seen a bunch of different studies, you claiming at 62 versus 67, which is most people's full retirement age. So the difference there is if you live past around 78 in a few months, somewhere in there, if you live past 78, you should have waited until 67. That's kind of the break even. A lot of people say, what's my break even? Now, if you claim it at 62 and you pass away before that late 70s mark, 78 plus, then you benefited from claiming early. Again, that's the caveat. We don't know where the finish line is in our lives. So we have to make an educated decision or an educated guess, really, on when to claim. Again, if it's just you, a little different. Now, if it's a married couple and you claim it at 62, just know that, when one spouse passes away, you keep the higher of the two benefits. So if there's a big discrepancy between spouses, the higher wage earner over their life, they may want to wait a little bit longer because that benefit carries on with that spouse who didn't make as much money. So when it comes to a legacy thing, you really, really, really have to think about this and really crunch the numbers on it.
Yeah, it's something you need to get right. And if you haven't actually sat down to think about it or discuss it, get in touch with Ryan, speakwithryan.com to actually sit down and begin talking about this strategy and many other things that go into your retirement. But talking about inside your office at Black Oak, Ryan, what kind of analysis do you run to help someone determine that right age? Because it's going to be different for everyone. So how do you help them get to that decision?
Yeah. So when we run, the cool thing about our financial planning software is we put into the software what their FRA, their full retirement age benefit is going to be. So if that's at 67, if it's $3,000 a month for one spouse and $2,800 a month for another spouse, we put that in there. And then the software will reverse engineer it if we want to claim it sooner or if we want to claim it later. So that's the cool part about the software is we can see, okay, we set it for 67, but then we can toggle, this bar on or off if we claim it later or if we claim it sooner. And it shows the percentage of success difference by claiming it at different ages. Now, it's not a perfect science. However, as of now, as of the recording of this, the federal government gives an 8% raise, if you will, or an increase in benefit for every year beyond your full retirement age. So between 67 to 68, it's an 8% increase. 68 to 69, 8% increase. 69 to 70, 8% increase. So there's not a investment under the sun that guarantees a 8% rate of return. So that's where, okay, maybe we take money from our asset bucket and continue to delay Social Security. So those are all the scenarios that we can run to see if that makes sense. It may not make sense, but that's where we can educate people and say, hey, your percentage of success is 8% higher or 10% higher or 15% higher by just doing this versus this. So just kind of painting that picture and seeing those percentages of success change as their claiming strategies change.
And then beyond Social Security, is there anything else, if you are in this position where you are worried about, hey, I don't know how long retirement is going to be. I don't feel like I'm going to be around a long time for whatever reason that might be. Is there anything else from a financial planning standpoint beyond Social Security that you should be thinking about?
Yeah, I mean, there's different. So some people have potential pensions out there. Some people have lump sum options to be able to roll that money into an IRA and then generate and create your own income stream. Again, we mentioned before of multiple income streams. Do you have multiple income streams coming in? So Social Security is hugely important. It is one piece of the puzzle, a pretty big piece, because this is our guaranteed. Again, we can debate that. Some people will say, well, it's not going to be there, but this is your guaranteed income that the government is saying that you will get on a monthly basis. And it's all based off your work history. So it depends on how much income you have coming in from Social Security, whether it's just you or you and a spouse, and then what your monthly amount that you need from an income standpoint, and how much of Social Security does it bridge that gap between what you need and what you have coming in. And then hopefully you have multiple income streams or a nest egg that will bridge that gap between the two. So sometimes I have people that have really, really good Social Security benefits. I mean, if you have two spouses that worked the majority of their life and earned a pretty good income, I mean, you could have a $4,000 plus a month income, times that by two, and you're going to be close to like 10 grand a month. I've seen it. We have clients that have that, and they saved really well, and they're like, well, we don't need any more than this. This is what we need, which is a great spot to be in. Then there's other planning opportunities. Okay, well, we have RMDs coming up soon. So is Roth conversions a possibility? So it lowers our RMDs, or can we give those RMDs to charity? Because you can do those at 70.5. It counts as an RMD, but it's also a charitable giving strategy. So a lot of things to think about when you get to retirement, as well as all this stuff at Social Security.
Yeah, so it's hard to really kind of dial into this answer for this question specifically, just on the surface. You can see there's so many different factors that go into this, but you want to make sure you take a very thoughtful approach to Social Security to make sure you get it right. And Black Oak Asset Management can help you with that. If you want to book a time to meet with Ryan, you can go to speakwithryan.com. You can also go to blackoakam.com to learn more about Black Oak, but also request that book, Diffuse the Retirement Threats, because again, this is one of those RMDs. We touched on those a little bit. There's a bunch of things in there that you will touch on and learn about, but it's very helpful. Also, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that as well. We'd appreciate that support. We've got a lot of great feedback from people watching and viewing the podcast. We appreciate that as well. And we'll have another video coming soon. So Ryan, have a good week. We'll chat with you soon.
Thank you.